I will ask you to say hi to our dear guest, Mr. Niels Pflaeging. Welcome.
Okay.
Mr. Niels Pflaeging is leadership philosopher, management exorcist, I love this, and change curator. He's passionate advocate for a new breed of leadership and profound change in organization. He's the founder of the Beta Codex Network, and prior he was the director of the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable, BBRT, founder of consultancy Red 42, and creator of Open Space Beta. In this highly engaging, thoughtful, and provocative keynote, he will challenge our assumption around leadership, self-organization, transformation, and high performance. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I was quite surprised. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, now I really want to make this a little interactive, so we need a little bit more light in this room. This is my second day in Croatia, and this is the first Comeleon conference. So everything that we do today might change the world. Let's take this attitude. Everything that we think or do today can change the world. And I want to invite you to think about work and organizations in a different way. Now, if I invite you to think differently, of course, that is voluntary. You don't have to think. You don't have to agree with me. And I want to establish this as a little rule. You do not have to agree with anything that I say. Is that okay? Don't agree with me. It's not necessary. I know that I'm right. So, the second rule that I would like to give you is let's agree that I'm not trying to convince you of anything. If you get convinced by anything that I say, that is your problem. And what I would like to do over the next 70 minutes or so is to plant the seed of doubt into your hearts. No more, no less. I want you to doubt how we run organizations. Yes. My hypothesis for this session is that agility, Diana already said a few words about agile or agility, and I will argue that we already know exactly what agility means. Most of us just do not care. We know what it is, but we don't care so much. No. I think we are hypnotized by symptoms in our organizations. For example, yesterday I learned, because this was my first day in Croatia, yesterday I learned that Croatia as a country is suffering a brain drain, as they say in many countries. No? Highly educated people, younger people, leave the country and go elsewhere. Yes? Do you have this in Croatia? Is that a problem? Of course, this is not a problem. It's not a problem. That is just a symptom of something that is happening in the world, in Croatia, in our economies. Or maybe have you recently spoken about customer satisfaction or employee engagement? Oh, I heard that yesterday Diana told us that employer branding is a big thing in Croatia. Employer branding, who of you loves this topic? Employer branding? Not so much? Okay. But employee engagement and that kind, that's very important, isn't it? Of course, then we observe that employees are not so engaged, so we do something against it. Or we observe that the culture of the organization is not good, so we work on the culture. Now here's the problem. We believe, some of us here in the room believe that things like culture, customer satisfaction, employee engagement are just symptoms of a deeper problem. This is why I brought this little illustration, this little image to you. I already looked up how the word of this plant, how this name of this plant is in Croatian. Lokvanj? Sea rose, a sea rose. Lokvanj, okay. The pronunciation is a mystery to me in Croatian. But you see this kind of plant. It's a water lily or a sea rose. Do you know these plants? And they say that one of these plants, you never see the root. The root is in the water, right? Creates many, many leaves. Creates many, many leaves, hundreds of leaves. And problems in organizations are just like that. I will argue in the sessions that there are few problems in organization and many symptoms, many things that fascinate us. Quality problems and, oh, we are too slow, we are not innovative enough, our customers are not happy. Yeah? But I will argue that there is one big trouble in your organizations. And here comes the conclusion already. Yeah? It's early in the morning, so I will give you the conclusion right up front. Here's the problem. My hypothesis for you is Croatian organizations, by and large, most companies are stuck in the left model. Who agrees with me? That's helpful. It's not necessary, by the way, but it's okay. Good. Yes. Okay. So our organizations are, in English, many people call this command and control. The left model, the pyramid, command and control. Yes? Okay, here's the thing. Most organizations in the world are in command and control. And command and control is a messy problem that creates millions and gazillions and thousands of symptoms. It is like a disease that infests organizations. All right? Are you with me? Here's a tougher thing. If you agree with me that most organizations are in command control hierarchy, who of you works in an organization or with organizations that have org charts like these on the left? Most of you, right? Okay. Yeah. So let's assume for a moment most organizations are in the model on the left. Now here's the thing. The model on the right. Who of you knows companies that are in the model on the right? We call this the peach model. Oh yeah, okay, Axel, yes. We will hear from him. We'll hear from him in an hour. I will argue that agility only happens on the right model. The model on the right, that's agility. We call the model on the right the peach. What's the name of the fruit peach in Croatian? Breskva. Oh, that's easy to pronounce. Okay, Breskva. So, Breskva is better than pyramid. And here's the thing. If you know TV shows like Game of Thrones, do you know Game of Thrones? Imagine there's an epic battle between the two models. The pyramid and the peach, pyramid and Breskva, they fight each other all the time. In our organization, there's a huge struggle for power with sword fighting and lots of blood. Yeah? Organizations are suffering from the fact that they must be Breskva-like, peachy, but they aren't. Okay, let's analyze this a little more. Now here's another ground rule. If you want to comment, if you disagree with me, or you agree, or you want to argue something, or ask something, do it right away, okay? Any questions at this point? Comments? Agreements, disagreements? Yeah, it's very early in the morning for that, but we'll try later. Here's the thing. Here's an interesting thing, by the way. A couple of years back, almost 10 years back, I organized a conference like this in Sao Paulo. Exactly like this, by the way. We had the same amount of people in the room, almost business people from different companies and organizations. And we had a guest, like tomorrow we will have a speaker, Jos de Blok from Buurtzorg, a wonderful, very peachy company. On the right, I think. They are a great example, one of the rare examples of a highly effective, pretty large organization that is in the right model, okay? Yeah. At the time, 10 years back, we had a guest from Sweden, from Handelsbanken, the Swedish bank. Who's in banking or finance here? Okay. Do you recognize that most banks in the world are in the left model? Yes. Okay, Handelsbanken has been on the right model, on the peach model, for 48 years. I always remember because they changed their organization from pyramid to peach in 1971. I was born in 1971. Very easy for me to remember. So for almost 5 decades, Handelsbanken, the Swedish bank, has been in the model on the right. And this is what happened 10 years ago at that conference in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Somebody asked the chief financial officer, CFO of Handelsbanken, he was there at the conference, somebody asked him, Leonard, that's his name, Leonard, can we not have the Handelsbanken model on the right and the model on the left, because we know so well how the pyramid works? And he answered with a little story. Now this was 10 years ago. Brexit wasn't happening at the time. So he said, okay, Leonard Franke from Handelsbanken, he said, imagine the British would want to change their way of how traffic works. You know that they are not so civilized, their traffic flows on the left side. Have you ever been to England? It's very dangerous, it's creepy. Have you been there? It's terrifying, of course, for civilized people like us. So just imagine, like a hypothesis. The English would decide to move from left-hand side traffic to right-hand side traffic, like in any decent country. Germany, Croatia, yeah? Austria and that stuff. Yeah. So imagine that. And Leonard said, with the pyramid and the peach, or alpha or beta, as I will call it in the next hour or so. He said, imagine the British would decide to really change their way of how traffic flows. And they would have arguments about it and discussions. And somebody would probably suggest at some point, okay, we cannot do this for the entire population at once. Let's try it next weekend with trucks and buses. Right? That's how this relationship is. You cannot have both. You just cannot. It can never work. We cannot mix agility with the pyramid. It just does not work. Not because I say so, but because we would crash all the time. Yeah? So we must really decide, do we want to be on the left side or the right side? It has to be a conscious decision. I'd invite you to think about this, to reflect about this, and maybe during the conference make up your mind what you want in your organization. Here are some organizations that are highly peachy. Don't look at this for too long. I just brought this because Burzeuch is here on the list, Toyota is on the list, Handelsbanken. Some of the cases of peachy companies are here on the list, and this is it. I will not let you see this any longer, okay? Because I have learned something over the last 15 years. I have worked on this kind of transformation from pyramid to peach for 15 years, long time. And I have learned that cases, they can be treacherous. They can hypnotize us. Cases, in a way, will never make you change the way your organizations work. We can have a long discussion, we can have discussions about this during the workshops and other sessions. I believe that cases do not help so much, because if we are stuck in this model, I will give you a few ideas about why transforming an organization is not so easy. But in order for you to figure out why organizations need to be peaches, not pyramids, here's the first reason. And it has to do with complexity. Complexity will be a big topic during this event, I think. I hope we will talk a little bit about complexity and what it does to organizations. But here's the thing. This model, the pyramid model worked very well until the 1970s or 80s. This was great. Now the question is, where does this model, command and control, pyramid organizations, where does it come from? Who knows the inventor of the pyramid model, command and control? The church, the Catholic Church. Yes, in a way, it's correct. It's one of the correct answers. There are many correct answers, yes. But when was this brought to commercial organizations? With Ford, yes. Fordism in the 1920s. Ford was an early adopter, but he was not a philosopher of this model. Philosophically, this model was invented by another American who lived almost at the same time, or at the same time. Any ideas who might have invented, who might be the philosopher of command and control, of management, the social technology? Because that's what we see here, management, the social technology. Any ideas? Another American. He is famous because his name, we still use his name when we talk badly about this model. When we talk badly about this, we sometimes call this Taylorism. Have you heard the word? The man was called Frederick Winslow Taylor, and he was also an American, an inventor, and he is, I think it's worth mentioning that this way of running a business, of running organizations, commercial or not commercial, it is based on a philosophy. And here comes the philosophical core. Don't believe in anything that I say, but this is true. Frederick Taylor, he had a great idea of how to make organizations more efficient. Do you see it? The great idea behind this image here, the pyramid? What happens at the top and what doesn't? That is the question behind this. Do you see it? Frederick Taylor had the idea for the industrial age 100 years ago, at the time of Henry Ford. We make organizations more efficient if we liberate the workers at the bottom from the thinking. It's very important. It's a great idea for the industrial age. Let's liberate most of the people from the thinking. They don't have to think anymore, they just do. And the thinking is done by managers. Yeah? So managers think, workers do. Brilliant idea, isn't it? Makes organization much more efficient in the industrial age. This was 100 years ago. It was a brilliant idea. Because at the time, what troubled Frederick Taylor, when he went into a factory, everybody had his or her own style of working. masters in the shop floor, everybody had their own style. They did what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it. Everybody improvised a lot. It was like more like a jazz band on the shop floor. And the products, they deviated a lot, especially in America, I think. Not sure. In Germany, I think everything was more orderly already. No, that's nonsense. But what bothered Frederick Taylor was the products that came out of the production, they weren't all the same. They deviated. They were all different. There was no standards, no common quality. So Frederick Taylor said, let's define one best way to do everything and standardize, and let's have the workers not think anymore. They just follow the process. And that will make everything quicker, more efficient, and the quality will be more reliable. Here's the beautiful thing about it. It worked. Especially because most organizations, Ford was one of the first adopters, of course, Ford Motor Company, and then during the First World War and the Second World War, most companies in the world learned how to do this. Industrial companies adopted this model. Okay? Worked fine. Until the 1970s. And here's the thing. This is what killed the pyramid model. Complexity. This is a little visual metaphor for complexity. If I asked you, have you ever complained about the weather? Who in the room has ever complained about the weather? Ah, shit, weather, bad weather. Have you complained about the weather? Okay. Now, maybe you noticed, but the weather didn't respond. The weather doesn't care. Yeah? Complexity is like the weather. Complexity doesn't care what you think of it. We don't change the world by complaining about the real world and its complexity. Complexity is like the weather. Yeah? It's something, there are things that happen to us, like customer demands. They just change and we have to respond for it or we will die. Our organizations will die. Yeah? So let's talk for a minute about complexity. Complexity, I will invite you during this session, maybe during the 2 days, if you like, to call complexity the red. Is that okay? Red is complexity. Do you see it? The red? Red is complexity. So if red is complexity, then what is blue, the robot thing? What does that stand for? What do you think? Complex is red, then blue is what? Simplicity? No. A robot is not simple. The girl is complex. Clarity, maybe, yes. But there's another word that I never know the Croatian words, of course, but I think it's the same in English and in Croatian almost, right? Complicated, exactly. The blue is the complicated. So red is complex, blue is complicated. And do you know the difference as well? Between complicated, yes? Complicated is complicated, that's nice, that's very nice. Are you Catholic? Yes, you can understand it. Yes, you can understand it. There are linear relations. The complex is, difficult to understand. Yes, both complicated stuff, like a robot, and the metaphor for the red here is a girl, right? No. I mean, no. It could be a boy. Boys are complex too. Boys are not complicated. Boys are they? No. Yes, women are more complex. Okay, we can agree on that. That's true. But here's the thing. In complicated systems and complex systems, both can have many parts. Yeah? But as you said it correctly, a blue system or a complicated system, it is reliable, exact, precise. It can be figured out, and it works like a machine. Yeah, it ticks. There is no surprise in complicated systems. A complicated system, it works or it is kaputt, as we say in German. Do you have a word for that in Croatian as well? Kaputt? Broken? It can be broken. Yeah. A complex system, it is alive or dead. It is alive or not alive, let's say. Yeah? So a complex system, a good example for a complex system is a person. Man, woman, but also financial markets, societies, politics, the weather, climate, those are complex systems. Also teams, companies, organizations, those are all complex systems. They are alive. Yeah? Complicated systems, a good example is my watch. The watch is not alive. Do we agree on that? Or if you came in here did you come by car? A car is complicated. No life in it. Yeah? It works or it is kaputt. But no life. Yeah? So and that's why we know we can always start a car in the same way. Yeah? But if you have loved ones at home and you try to start them in the morning, do you have loved ones at home who you try to start in the morning? They don't have a button. You cannot control them from the outside. Who has kids? Kids? Children? You have children? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, right? Complicated systems like a watch, a car, a plane, a computer, software, they can be controlled from the outside. Complex systems are alive, so they cannot be fully controlled from the outside. They can be manipulated in some instances, like a children, you can manipulate them, but that's not control. Okay? So there is a difference between the complicated, the blue, and the complex, which is the red. Now, in work and organizations, we find both kinds of problems. We face blue problems and red problems. And now here's a test question. Imagine 200 years ago, here near Zagreb, in Zagreb or near Zagreb, or in any part of Croatia, or any city or village, if you wanted to produce something like a chair, what kind of problem do you mostly face? More blue problems or more red problems? You wanted to produce a chair. What kind of problem was more important to solve? Red problems or blue problems? Blue, that's wrong. Yeah, that's exactly wrong. We always think that in the past everything was simple, right, and complicated. But imagine 200 years back, if you wanted to produce a chair, you would have to customize it for a client. You would have to wait for the client. The client would specify demands, what kind of wood the chair would be made of, and then you could produce. So you had to, the markets were not reliable, not stable, they were highly fragmented and diverse. And you couldn't mass produce a chair like this. This is mass produced, I assume, right? Do you see it? It's mass produced. So this company could produce the chair, put it on stock, on inventory, and then sell it. At the time, 200 years ago, everything was about relationship with the client, customization, on-demand production, as we would call it today. Yeah? And this was because markets were fragmented and local. So the craftsmen from this village or this little town or whatever this village would not even compete with the craftsmen in Zagreb, probably. There would be no competition between them. Everything that was crafts manufactured was manufactured locally. This changed in the industrial age. In the 1850s, 900s, for the first time in human history, we had spacious, vast mass markets. Henry Ford. That was the time of Henry Ford. So we could sell for the first time in human history, we could sell the same product millions and millions of times. We could sell the same product over and over again. Like the Ford Model T, I think it was sold 22 million times. The same car, in the same color, which of course was black. Yes, as everybody knows. And you see already that this era of the industrial age, it came to an end. You see it here to the right? It ends in the 1970s or 80s. Yeah? In the 1970s or 80s, markets change again. The era we are now in, or the time we are now in, it is not ideal for this kind of organization. But here is what happened in the industrial age. In the industrial age, every organization almost in the world became pyramid-like, adopted Taylorism. Efficiency, 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 mass production. In the industrial age, almost every organization in the world, even hospitals and public administration and schools, adopted command and control pyramid systems. That was great, but do you see here that the red, it went away in the industrial age, right? In the industrial age, we have a lot of blue problems and very little red problems. Do you see it in the middle here? Yeah? So there was little surprise in mass markets, in the industrial age markets. And that changed again in the 1970s or 80s. In the 1970s or 80s, you see it already here. The times changed again, the red and the complexity returned into value creation. That's why bankers again, please, hands up. You face a lot of complexity today. Not so much until the 1970s, but then complexity grew back. Customers became more demanding, the markets became more competitive. Yeah? Everything changed in the 1970s or 80s. Yeah? This is neither good nor bad. It's just a historical fact. Yeah? During the industrial age, command and control pyramids were perfect because we didn't face so much surprise, so much red, so much complexity, so you didn't need many decisions. You could repeat and standardize and deal with complicated problems. Now we face a lot of complexity, so this old model of command and control, it doesn't work anymore. Questions? Questions, comments, agreements, disagreements? You don't have to agree, this is true anyway, but if you like to comment. Yeah? Okay, so here's the argument. here's the main point that I want to take home with you. There was a time when the pyramid model was very good. It isn't anymore. That has nothing to do with us, with this conference, not even with my arguments. The world changed 40, 50 years ago, and we should have adopted a more complexity-capable way of organizing, but we didn't. Most companies still run this model of organizing. Yeah? But here's the thing. This is a structure, it's very strong in organizations. Do you recognize it? You've probably used this a lot in your organizations and at work. But here's another model, another structure that is very powerful in organizations. Any ideas? By the way, we call this structure here, we call it formal structure. Structure of formal authority. You know, power by authority, by formal authority. The CEO or the general manager is in charge. Are there any managers in the room, top managers? You are the kings here at the top of the pyramid, okay? Yeah. Huh? And you love it? You love it. Supposedly you love it. I'm not so sure. We will discuss this. Yes? Yes. Yeah, that's a big question that I hear all the time. But they are beneficiaries of this model. They, the top managers. I think it's bullshit. We probably agree on that. You fully agree. I like to say something. In this model, everybody loses. I wouldn't say that everybody's a loser. That would be tough. Yep. But in this model, there are no winners. There are only losers. Why does it last so long? We will answer this in the next 20 minutes. I will try to offer you several explanations of why this. Do you have a hypothesis? Why? Why this is still so common? You would like to. She's shy. Okay, that's good. Any hypothesis? Why is this still so popular? Resistance mindset. Okay. Yes. I will try to give you one. So yes.
Because we taught the workers not to think, and now we have to think again. We are not.
The workers we have.
In this model,
Yes. In this model, workers do not think.
do not think.
Yes.
So now we have to talk to the workers. We are a worker. We have to start thinking again.
Yes. Yes. The difficulty of making workers think again. And what does that mean for the top? If workers have to, the top will have to return to work. That's very good. That's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's also a good tweet, by the way. Or if you want to tweet, but we have a hashtag here, Comeleon too. Yes. The fear to lose control. Then he would be the one. He would be like your general manager or something. He is afraid to lose control. Does he look to you as if he's afraid of losing? Yes. Yeah, organizations are afraid to lose control. Okay, here's the fun fact, which I wanted to. This is a very good point. Do you see the relationship to this? Let's see. Do you see how this? If you look at the right side of this, yeah, we are time-wise we are here at the right, right? This is our time. We are here. Yes. This is the present here. Okay. Here's a question: are top managers in control? Some of them, the foolish ones, think they are, but the smart ones, like some of you here, or almost, everyone here in the room, I assume, right? You know that we aren't in control. We aren't in control. And not because we are not smart enough. The problem is complexity. Complex systems, real markets, globalized markets, they produce surprise all the time. Surprise, 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 surprise. So you cannot be in control if the world constantly surprises you. It's like marriage. Who of you is married or has been married? And did you take this oath? This will be for forever? And then reality bites, surprises happen. And it doesn't take forever. It happens, nobody's to blame. Things happen, But that was just one lousy example. So the world constantly surprises. We cannot be in control because the times have changed. In the industrial age, we were pretty much in control. There wasn't total control either, as you see here. There was some level of surprise in the industrial age. But today, we are surprised all the time. We cannot run an organization like a machine anymore because the world has spun out of control. It has become truly complex. Markets and value creation have become truly complex. Very nice observation as well. Yes. We already lost control, so the question is, how do we respond to that? How do we create organizations that are as agile as the markets we have to deal with, as the customers we have to satisfy? That is the question of our time. Yeah? And here's one of the answers. This is very agile. Every organization has this kind of structure. How would you call this kind of structure? Informal structure, yes. This was formal structure, this is informal structure, do you see? So this is you and the people you like or hate. Hate is also a relationship, right? So people you like and dislike. People you are close to or not so close to. This is a very powerful structure in organizations. Who of you has ever sensed the power of an informal structure? I have. Yeah, that you talk to other people and nothing works, or you are in a meeting with many, many people, you make decisions there. Do you sometimes do this? Meetings, decision making, and then people walk out of the room and nothing will ever happen. And everybody knows in a way. That's the power of informal structure. Gossip, water cooler talk, you know, informal channels of communication, very powerful. Yeah? Every organization has informal structure. Every organization in the world. But this is really how value is created today. We call this value creation structure. This is how the work works. Do you recognize this from before? This is the peach. And here's the point. The peach is the only structure in which actual work can happen. I will show you again. You cannot work in this structure, and you cannot work in this structure. Impossible. In this structure here, the pyramid, you can produce compliance, you can be within the law, you can have accounting and bookkeeping and make contracts and so on. All very important. It's very important to be compliant, especially for banks. Yeah? For every organization. Yeah? For us, for all of, yes, for us? For us, who is us? As lawyer, yes, he's a lawyer, exactly. And for him as a lawyer, it's even more important. Yes, okay, thank you for adding that. Yes, no, compliance is absolute. It's like, it's not the purpose of an organization to be compliant, it's just a necessity. And informal structure, how we communicate informally, that's not the purpose of an organization. That's not the work, but it's important for the work to have this structure working well. And this is where actual value is created. Value creation structure. Every organization is already, this is the good message for you, every organization in the world already has the peach inside. But it's covered under layers of bullshit. Bullshit, can I say this here? Okay, layers of crap, to use a little bit of plastic language here. Yeah? There are layers and layers of bullshit. But here's the thing. Let's imagine that markets turn red and complex, and they turned, believe it or not, they turned complex in the 1970s or 80s. Of course, here in Croatia, there was some specific historical situation that made markets become more complex, right? Of course, but internationally, in the 1970s and 80s, the world changed. Markets became red. So you see here the boundary of the organization, the peach, the skin of the peach. Do you see the skin of the peach, the outer boundary of the organization? Outside are markets, and they are red. Who in the organization should be in charge? There are two possible answers: the center or the periphery. The flesh can be in charge, or the pit of the peach. Which part of the organization should be in charge? If markets are complex. The periphery. Why? They are close to the market. And here's the thing. Organizations were always peaches. There is a part of the organization, we call it the periphery, that is close to the market, and it is the only part of the organization that touches the market. So in complex markets, in today's world, we have to decentralize decision-making. Diana already mentioned that. We have to decentralize decision-making to the periphery, to those teams that have direct contact with the markets. The problem is, in the 1970s and 80s, when markets turned complex and red, and maybe you have noticed, and banks, surely you noticed, the markets started to steer the organization. They have become more demanding. They have started to pull organizations in every direction. Yeah? And the only part of the organization that can intelligently respond to the market pull, or market pressure, some people call it market pressure, we call it market pull. The only part of the organization that senses the market, that touches the market, is the periphery. They should be in charge. You see here little cells in the periphery, little bubbles, cells in the periphery. They should be in charge to satisfy customer demands. Now what happens in organizations is we haven't decentralized them. We haven't fully decentralized decision-making to the periphery. Do you see that? We still continue the steering. For example, in the pyramid organization, what do we do to steer the organization from the top down? What kind of instruments do we use? Classics. You might know them. Budgeting, do you have budgets in your organizations? Of course, yeah, that's part of the trouble, yeah. And fixed targets and quotas and bonuses and what else can you have? Performance appraisal, is that a thing in Croatia? To appraise people annually and tell them how stupid they are, basically? Yes? Okay, good. So we have all this people per people. What do you mean? You appraise the people. Yes, yes. Not teams, but people. You do that in this model. Yeah. We will discuss if that's very good. we have gotten used in the industrialists. We got used to steering people with all kinds of methods. For example, cost management. Who of you knows cost management from your companies? Cost management? Popular, right? Or do you have a travel policy in your organization that tells everybody they are too stupid to make responsible decisions for themselves? It's all part of this model. Yeah? Decentralization means, how about having teams being responsible for actual results and running a business in the periphery? Small teams, maybe 7 or 8 people. That is this model. What happens today in most organizations is there is this epic struggle between the pyramid, here below, and the peach on the right. Yes? And then we have people in the informal structure trying to figure it all out what it means. This is the state of organizations today, an epic battle between the 3 structures of organization. And remember, every organization has these 3 structures, believe it or not, at all times. What we have to change is we have to put the peach first. The peach must go first, not the pyramid. Okay. I would like to discuss with you what holds us back. Maybe I get your name again. What's your name again? Moitzer. Moitzer, I would call it the Moitzer riddle. Yes? We want to solve the Moitzer riddle. What is keeping organizations back from becoming peaches? Let's analyze this, and I would like to invite you to do a little science with. I think it's good for at a conference to do a little science. Is that okay? I would also take a look at time. I've got lots of time. That's good. Please pick up you found one blue Post-it and one yellow on your chair. Yes? We will do a little science in a minute. Yeah. You will also need a pen. If you do not have a pen yourself, you can share a pen with somebody else. If somebody close to you has a pen, you don't have to write much on these papers. Nothing bad will happen, yeah? But you need a pen in a minute. You don't have to write much, don't worry. But here's the thing. First, I want to introduce the concept that I want to discuss with you. I would like to expand. But theory X and theory Y, who knows this concept? Who has heard of it? Theory X, theory Y? 2, 3 colleagues? Okay. Some Germans I recognize. Okay. Who is the inventor of this concept? Do you remember or no? Friedrich Herzberg. That's good. Close, but not right. It's wrong, actually. Friedrich Herzberg, he was a colleague of this man. Friedrich Herzberg, why do you remember him? What is he famous for, Friedrich Herzberg? It's a motivational theory. This is also a motivational theory. But Herzberg, he was the one with the 2-factor theory. What did Herzberg say? He said, money is not a motivator. It's a hygiene factor. Very strange word, hygiene factor, right? So money does not motivate. That's what Herzberg said. He said, other things motivate people, but money certainly doesn't. That's what Herzberg is famous for. But this man who invented theory X and theory Y? Broom? No. That's also from the time, but not, no, Broom. Another very good concept, by the way. Yes, the man who invented this concept, his name is Douglas McGregor. I recommend his book. Seriously, I recommend reading his book from 1960. It's called The Human Side of Enterprise. In a way, McGregor and Frederick Taylor, they are among the great philosophers of business. So you should read Frederick Taylor's book to understand the pyramid, and you should read Douglas McGregor's book from 1960. It's very old, I know, but it's still very good to understand the peach and the pyramid and everything. Yeah? So McGregor, 1960, he says something very important, I think, to us during this conference and to organizational agility, which is, McGregor said, we do not have one image of human nature in our heart and in our head. We do not have one assumption about human nature at work in our heads and hearts. There are 2 images of human nature that we know. That was it seems simple to us, I think, but at the time this was revolutionary. That McGregor said, we have two ways of imagining people at work. Now, if I ask you, how do you imagine people at work? What are responses? How do you imagine people at work? If I ask you, how are people at work? What would you respond? Happy, happy, very good. What else? Efficient, okay, yes. Those are things that you want them to. But how are they? How are they? You want them to be happy and efficient, okay. But what is their attitude towards the work? What is their relationship to work? Complex, nice, yes. What else? Passive, aha, that's theory X. Yes, very good, we'll come to that. Passive, the opposite would be active, that would be theory Y, we'll see it in a second, yes. What other things, what do you think about people at work? Interesting, or interested? They're interested in the work, yes. People are interested in the work. Who said that, by the way? Do you really believe it, or did you just say it? Do you believe that they are interested in the work? That's more theory Y, we will see that in a second. Here's how McGregor explains this to us. There are two competing images of human nature that we hold in our heads and in our hearts. Two images of human nature, and they do not mix, they are different. Let's analyze theory X first. Theory X says something very clear. X-people, dislike the work. Yeah? So when we have this image of human nature in our heads, we think of other people that they dislike the work, that they will try to avoid it if they can. They will run from the work if they can. Yes? So as these people are uninterested in the work, you have to force them, bribe them, motivate them, incentivize them. How do psychological scientists call this kind of motivation? Extrinsic motivation. Yeah? X-people, imagine people as X-people, and then we have to extrinsically motivate them to make an effort, to take responsibility. We have to extrinsically orient them, give them orientation, force them, bribe them. Yeah? How we motivate Xers, McGregor said that very clearly in his book, almost 60 years ago. He said, two key mechanisms are important, money and fear. Very important with dealing with theory X people. Okay? Questions? Now here's the thing, McGregor says, we all know this image of human nature, we all have thought this. You have thought this about other people, right? Okay, let's look at the second theory about human nature. Theory Y. This is a little bit more sophisticated. It says people need the work to feed themselves and their loved ones, but these Y people, they also want to take an interest in the work. They want to bring their desires and motivations to work. These people are intrinsically motivated. Yeah? So we can imagine people as people who have to be extrinsically motivated, theory X, or we can imagine people, says McGregor, as intrinsically motivated. And leadership with theory Y people means creating conditions so that people can self-orient. If the conditions are right, says McGregor about Y, theory Y, then these Y people will self-orient, they will take responsibility and bring their motivation to work. Yeah? There are also assumptions. The last thing, that's what I like best about these theories, the last thing about creativity. McGregor says, in theory X thinking, we believe that few people have creative potential, except when it comes to circumnavigating management rules. Then the Xer gets creative then. And in theory Y, we think that creative potential is widely available among people, but grossly underused by organizations. So each of these theories is consistent. Do you see that? They are both logical. They make sense. Both these theories make sense. All right, questions? By the way, there was once a theory Z as well. If you wonder, has there ever been a theory Z? Yes, in the 1980s and 90s, there was an author who articulated theory Z. It said, Japanese are different. It's not so fashionable anymore. Yes, there was a question or a comment?
Yeah, so both theory X and theory Y are essentially based on personality traits from the employees. If you're extrinsically or intrinsically motivated, so...
No, very good question, but no.
But you will have both types of people in the organization.
No. It's very good that you're asking that. Thank you for asking. It's a very good point. Here's what McGregor says. This has nothing to do with actual personality traits. This is what we think about other people at work.
What is in the eye
of the beholder. McGregor says we think that people are either X people or Y people. That was a brilliant question, by the way. Very nice question. And we will analyze this. Are you ready for the little experiment? For the scientific experiment? Because our colleague there who asked these questions, he wants to say more and think more, and we will do this with the little experiment. Pick up the post-its, please, and first take the yellow post-it. We will test this a little bit, how we really think about people, and what we think about human nature. And we can. This is for us to understand what this theory is about and how it relates to your organizations, your work, organizations in Croatia or anywhere else in the world. So the yellow post-it note. This is the first little part of this exercise. Very simple. Look inside yourself, look inside your heart, and ask yourself, what kind of person are you? Here's the thing. According to McGregor, you can only be an X person or a Y person, right? Think of your own human nature, judge yourself, and write down what kind of person are you. It can be an X or a Y. Please pick which kind of person are you, X person or a Y person. Should be very simple. Questions about the method? Look inside your heart, don't show it, don't show it. It's a secret for now. Just write the letter, one letter here. Yeah? Look inside your heart, what kind of person are you? This is not about your personality traits, or have you ever felt like X or Y. This is about your human nature. It must be either X or Y. Clear? Did you do it? Did you write the letter on the post-it? Then please exchange this post-it with the person sitting close to you. Any person, anybody. Just exchange this paper with another person. There is analysis already. Everybody's a Y, she said. But we will see. Maybe that's just a hypothesis. A ridiculous hypothesis. Ridiculous. Okay, this was very simple, right? Now it gets difficult. The blue post-it, you work at which organization? Is that the Raiffeisenbank? Raiffeisenbank. How many people in 1,700? And worldwide? 50,000? So imagine the 50,000, please. If you work in an international organization, imagine everybody in that organization international. You do not have to know them personally. Yeah? Who works in a small organization, small company? How many people? 30? So imagine the 30. If you work with an even smaller group of people, then please imagine your clients or everybody you know who works. Yeah? Imagine all these people. Can you do that? Imagine them all. And now on the blue post-it, please write the percentage of Xers, X people, in this total. Among the 50,000 or the 30, the percentage of X people in your company. How many people? Just 16? Yeah, then make it bigger. Let's make the group a bit bigger. Think about your clients and the people working there. What is the percentage of Xers? Just to make it more fun. In this case, it cannot be -5 or 117. You see that, right? It must be 0, 100, or something in between, because it's a percentage of the total. The others would be Y people, but you don't write that down. Only the theory X percentage. Did you do it? Then please exchange the post-it with another person. Okay. Do you want to analyze the results? Do you want to analyze the results? Any hypothesis about the results? The whole thing. Lower percentage. 20. Okay. Let's analyze the yellow post-its first. Somebody pick up this paper. Somebody wrote a letter on it, right? If it says X, please hold it up. X post-its. Hold them up. We have 2, 3 in the last row. Huh. It's the acoustics here. I'm not speaking very clearly. So okay, this shit happens. We will. we had 3 post-its. I studied statistics at the University of Hanover in Germany, so I know what I'm doing. I will round this down to 0. This is how you do statistics, right? I have a room full of people, 3 people saying X. Nothing. That's noise. Yeah? So we saw 3 post-its, but I rounded it down to 0. Okay? Let's get to this post-it. It has a number or percentage. If it says 0 or 0%, please hold it up. 0 or 0%. 0, you must hold it up high. 3, okay. 3, that's not a post-it, that's your hand. Wait a second. He has the post-it. You have the post-it, she holds up a hand. Okay, good. You want to make sure that it's noted. Okay. So what do we learn from this? We saw 3 yellow post-its and 4 blue post-its going up. What does that mean? 0 what? 0 what? Yeah, no, but what can we conclude from this? We analyzed a theory that was made up by Douglas McGregor, an American motivational theorist or philosopher, 60 years ago. And we found out that there are no X people in the room. I mean, we cannot be so sure with the last row, but okay, yes? And we saw very few blue post-its coming up. What can we analyze? What can we take from that?
That we all consider ourselves Y. We consider everybody else an X.
You consider everybody else your X is not really...
Not everybody else, but probably most people.
Most people?
We would have to analyze the percent.
Yes.
But we believe there are people who consider themselves X.
Yes. Predominantly, you guys in the room believe that there are other people that are X people. And? And they don't. Here's the thing. Don't believe in what I say or what McGregor says, but it's still true. They don't. X people, according to Douglas McGregor, 60 years ago, theory X people, it's brutal. Now comes a very important thing. He said, McGregor said, theory X people have never existed and will never exist. And do not exist. No Xer in the world. And then? I didn't get that. He never came to Croatia. Yes. Yes. Only in Croatia. And in Japan or something, strange countries. Yeah. It's like in Germany we would say he never went to the Netherlands. We will have lots of Dutch people tomorrow, right? Lots of Dutch people. 2, 3, 4 people? 2. So I have to make bad jokes about the Dutch today. You know, tomorrow it's all peace and harmony between us. No, okay. But here's the thing. Do you really believe that X's exist? Probably you do, because you wrote, most of you, almost all of you wrote a certain percentage of people, you consider them X's. Here's the problem. According to McGregor, X's do not exist. So how comes that we are pretty sure they exist? It's an observation problem. Imagine, McGregor explains it like this. Of course, if you look at children, little children, you see that what kind of people are little children? White people. But then they go to church and business and whatever, yeah, and then they start behaving differently. So this is what McGregor says. Of course, everybody is a theory Y person, but human beings are terrific, magnificent adapters to conditions. Has any of you ever been to an opera somewhere? Opera visitors, please hold up your hand. Opera visitors. Okay. Have you also? Who of you has been to a football stadium and seen a game? Yeah. Okay. Were you capable of behaving appropriately in both situations? That's the problem. We are too smart. Or if you have, we have a kitchen and we have a bathroom. Believe it or not, I behave totally different in both spaces. I do totally different things. Totally different behavior. This is the problem. McGregor says, well, there is no theory X people, but people brilliantly adapt to stupid organizational systems. Yes? We behave like X's because if the conditions are wrong, did you see this here on the right side? If the conditions are not right, then totally perfectly normal Y people will behave like stupid donkeys. Yes? People put a donkey hat on at work. By the way, I would argue that each of us has done that at some point of our career, in our careers, right? I have done it. That I played donkey, and that I was demotivated. I was a perfectly normal white person, I would argue, but I behaved like a stupid X person. Nobody is an Xer, but we can all behave like that. And that is the tragedy of command and control. If you have created a pyramid system, people will intelligently respond with stupid, demotivated behavior. That's the brilliance of human beings. Yes? Questions? Comments? Counter-arguments? You don't have to be convinced, but here's what McGregor is still right. Yes? Yes. Mhm. In the military and in the police, you argue that people at the top have to be in charge? That you have to have the pyramid system. Yes. Yes. Is that so? Yes. I remember a great movie from the 1990s, Black Hawk Down. Not sure if you remember or if you've seen it or enjoyed it. It's pretty terrible. At the beginning, an American squad it's about war in Somalia, and a helicopter is being shot down right at the beginning of the movie and crashes inside the Somalian capital. Inside the Somalian capital. So what happens then? There is a general in the movie, played by Sam Shepard, a brilliant poet and brilliant writer of theater plays. He plays the general in the command center. The question is, once the helicopter crashes, who do you think is in charge? People on the ground. Once complexity strikes or surprise strikes, people on the ground are very much by themselves. There can still be an objective or a purpose of the mission, but in this movie, all this goes down. All this goes down. So the fact, I think, is that, of course, in the military, there must be a general for certain reasons of compliance as well. Yes, but hierarchy is not in charge in really, really serious situations. I think that's the beauty of military organizations. I will argue, you can research this for yourself. In the 1970s, the American military did a lot of research on decentralization, on beach organizations. Can you imagine why? 1970s, the military published books and studies about decentralization and complexity and cybernetics. Can you imagine why? Vietnam. Of course, the Korean War first, so disaster after disaster after disaster. Yeah? So the American military really had to figure out why none of that had worked, why they had lost in all those, struggled or perished in all those wars. So decentralization, here's the thing, related to this question as well. Of course, every organization needs formal structure. We talked about this. Yeah? Formal structure for compliance reason, so that the lawyers can know who to talk to. Yes, and the government. But ultimately, teams in the periphery are in charge when it comes to value creation and work. We can discuss this more in the workshop if you like to join. Come to the workshop, we will discuss this. Both Silke and we will discuss this in our workshops. Decentralization and why it's needed. I wanted to take you back. Theory X and Theory Y. Do you remember Theory X and Theory Y? Just a little hint to you, something practical to finish off this little session. Something practical. This is highly practical now. McGregor says, everybody's a Y person. Not sure if I have convinced you or if you convinced yourself that everybody is a Theory Y person, even in Croatia. Even in, what is the country you most dislike? Like in Germany, we dislike the Dutch. As Germans, we dislike, we like everybody. The French? Whatever, think about other people. They are all Theory Y people. The people you like and you dislike, they're all Theory Y people, according to McGregor. And here's the thing, McGregor argues, you have to create the correct circumstance, the correct environment or conditions so that people can bring their Y identity, their Y human nature to work. And here's the thing, he also says, there are 1,000 ways to kill people's motivation and to force people into stupid donkey behavior. On the next slide here, I will show you a couple of words. Please count the practices that you know or that you've seen in practice or that you have in your organization, like Raiffeisen. Please count the practices on this slide that you have seen, that you have in your organization or that you see at clients' organizations or that you consider common in Croatian organizations or in German organizations, however you like. Do you know these practices? When I asked you before, budgeting, is it normal? You all said it's normal in Croatia, right? Well, it kills people's motivation, that's the problem. We call these practices, Silke and I, this is from one of our books, we call this slide the bullshit slide. All of this is bullshit. All these things, and more that we couldn't put on the same page, all these things belong on the garbage heap of history. For two reasons. They mistake complex problems for complicated problems. So they are like complicated answers to complex problems, which is utter total nonsense. and they mistake Y people for X people. So all this is evil. It should be dealt with in The Hague. Do you know The Hague, the court for human, how is it called? Human rights? There is a court for human rights in The Hague, right? All these practices should be dealt with there. One of the things that we find most funny is performance appraisal. Do you know performance appraisal? Have you been to a performance? Imagine you do that at home. Like, honey, time for your annual performance evaluation. Here's a laugh, that's good. Okay, yeah. So imagine, honey, time for your annual appraisals. We are a very good household. We have key performance indicators. I set targets for you 12 months ago. And next week, we will take a couple of hours. We will be very well prepared and discuss your performance over the next. You have done this in the past? It seems she recognizes herself. Has any of you ever done that at home? No. At work, it's normal. What do you think why it is normal to do this kind of shit, if I may say so, at work? Because we hate others. We don't respect them as theory Y human beings. We don't respect them as human beings at all. We believe we have evaluate others, which is a command and control reflex, a pyramid-like reflex. It's a stupid, silly, toxic, demotivating, unnatural practice. Just like budgeting and cost management and all the other bullshit here. Any questions? HR is also, any HR people in the room? Okay, no problem, we can discuss this, yeah? You are not the problem. You are not the problem. The problem is the beliefs and what we do and the steering that comes with it. Yeah? So don't be troubled, we can discuss this over and over in the workshops. Okay, here's the thing. Diana and Victor, I know they work a lot on culture. Culture is important, you said, Diana, in your opening. Silke and I, and others in this room, like Stephanie, we believe that organizations are systems. Yes? I think we all believe that organizations are systems. And in systems theory, we say the following. Every organization produces culture all the time. The culture is like the shadow of an organization. So you see me standing here, there's a light, and there are lights here, so there's a shadow behind me. Question, can I change the shadow? No. I can change my position. I can turn on the light or turn it off, but I cannot change the shadow. The shadow is uncontrollable, just like culture. Our organizations produce culture all the time. We cannot change the culture. We can see it, we can observe it, we can like it or hate it, it doesn't care. What we can really, really change is something else, not culture, but we can change organizational systems. So if you want to see a better culture in your organization, change the system. I highly recommend you, we will meet again in the 12 months here, to the second Comeleon conference, Comeleon 2020, maybe, yes, if you like, if they invite me back, you know. And I invite you to eliminate these practices from your organization to change the culture of your organization. We have to work the system instead of working people. When we think of theory X people, we want to change them, improve them, make them better, and heal them, and evaluate them, right? When we start to believe that everybody is a theory Y person, then people are not the problem anymore. We can really start working the system. And that is what I'm inviting you to think, to work not the people. People are already theory Y people. They are perfectly peachy. People are peachy. That doesn't make much sense as a metaphor, right? But okay, you know, people are capable of adapting to a stupid pyramid system, and they are already fit for the peach systems. So the problem we have is not to change 50,000 people at Raiffeisenbank or 1,700 at Raiffeisen Croatia. The challenge is to change the system so that people can bring their best to work and not their worst to work. That is the challenge that we face. We need to adopt another religion. We call this religion that I'm describing here, that I'm offering you to adopt, we call it Beta, or the Beta Codex, yes? Now, Taylorism, command and control, the pyramid also has a philosophy. You see it on the right. Yeah? This is the philosophy of Taylorism. Now, philosophy of Taylorism, there is a philosophy, believe me. Bureaucracy is important. You have to do a lot of plans. You have to incentivize the stupid X people, yes? So pyramid organizations have a philosophy, and we must move to a different philosophy. Just like in software development, we started to think that, okay, software developers can think and communicate, and if we have them work in smaller cycles, in sprints, then they can set their own objectives and define their own work, and pretty much work in a self-organized fashion. We started to believe this for software developers 20 years ago. We have to believe that this is possible for entire organizations. Companies like Toyota, Handelsbanken, W.R. Gore, Southwest Airlines, DM Drogeriemarkt, that's a company that's active here, they have been doing this for decades. So this is possible. It's possible to be peachy or beta. Yes? We just have to adopt other principles and other language. Yeah. Do you know these? This is corporate slang. This is something, some of the words that Silke and I hate, just to give you a little practical advice here. Have you ever heard of headcount? Is headcount a thing in Croatia? Oh, headcount. FTEs. Oh, FTEs. And they must be slashed like sheep. Yes? Oh, and then do you have high performers and high potentials? And you talk of the front line like it's still war. and you assume that people will resist to change. Is that here on the slide? Resistance to change? No. Oh, but when we want to make a change, we roll it out. I like to say that's like in the First World War, to roll out things through Belgium. The Germans went through Belgium, rolling out their war through the whole of Europe. Yeah. All these are common words that we use in organizations. These words indicate command and control bullshit. You like that? Okay, that's good, yes. All of these words, we should try not to use them anymore. Hit a target, for example. So many beautiful bullshit words on this slide. So we need another language, we need other tools. We have to get rid of certain language, rid of certain tools. We have to get rid of the command and control or pyramid mindset, and we have to get rid of the belief that the pyramid works. Here's something that we also want to discuss, if you like, at this conference. Every organization can be transformed from pyramid to peach. You don't have to believe that. It is still true. Handelsbanken transformed their organization in 1971. It took, we don't know exactly, 12 months, 18 months, a maximum of 2 years for them to transform from pyramid to peach, with several thousand people. Now, we think we have evolved, we have found better method. Every organization, we believe, can be transformed in just 90 days from pyramid to peach. Here in Croatia, or in any other country of the world, organizations can be transformed from pyramid to peach in just 90 days by changing or flipping the organization from alpha, pyramid, to beta or peach. Yes? Don't believe in what I say. We will discuss this in the workshop if you like, if you attend. We call this open space beta, or transformation with everyone at the same time. Yeah? This is entirely possible. We know that this is true because other companies have done it in the past, like Toyota did it, Handelsbanken did it, or DM Drogeriemarkt. I'm not sure how many people they have in Croatia and how many markets. It's a very big company, 70,000 employees today. They transformed themselves in 1991 from pyramid to peach. It just took a year or so. Yeah? Now we know that it's possible. This is open space beta. If you want to learn more about it, ask Silke, who's sitting there, or myself. We also brought a little book about how to make this happen. Transformation with everyone in 90 days. And here's the sum up for you. And there's one thing here that I would like to repeat. Organizations today in Croatia and everywhere else in the world do not have a people problem. We have a systems problem. And if we adopt the belief that everybody is a theory Y person, then this is not difficult anymore. This kind of transformation that I'm suggesting to you is not difficult anymore. It is just necessary. So I wish us all a great conference. Thank you very much for listening and for discussing with me. Thank you very much.
I'm speechless, and that happens like never.
That's good.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
I hope it's good. I hope it's good.
It's great.
Okay.
But I have to say I disagree in one thing. I just realized I know one ex person. That's my ex. He
Your
acts
ex?
like a
No. I do not know your husband, so I'm not commenting on your husband. But it's a very good point. I like to say, and Axel, whom I have worked with for 2 years or so, I think we discussed this as well. It's very important, if you think about theory X and theory Y, to remember that every asshole in the world, I'm not speaking about your ex.
I'm not allowed to use those words.
No. But every asshole in the world is a theory Y person. It's very important to remember that. Yes?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was good.
If anyone else has questions, feel free to ask. I believe there are questions.
Yes, if there are questions. If we have time, do we have
We still have a few minutes.
Good.
Do you agree?
Questions, comments, disagreeing or agreeing? Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can have coffee now and
Mhm.
save questions for later.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.